My name is Kira, and my life has never been perfect, but I once believed that everything could turn out fine. I'm a woman with a family, a stable job, and most importantly, a daughter I love more than anything in the world, Beth. But everything changed in an instant: a paternity test result, a harsh truth, and a family broken apart. I sat in the living room watching Isaac stand by the door with an incredulous and painful look on his face. The suffocating feeling prevented me from speaking. Everything started to fall apart because of a single piece of paper, the result of the paternity test. "I can't believe this," Isaac said, his voice choked. "I've always trusted you. Did you really cheat on me?" I felt suffocated trying to stay calm. "Isaac, I've never lied to you. I love you and Beth is our daughter." But Isaac didn't look at me with the trusting eyes he once had. "Then why is there this test result? How can it be that you're not Beth's biological mother?" I choked up. My mind was foggy, unsure of what to do, because that test result had shattered everything Isaac and I had built over the years. It must be a mistake. It has to be. Isaac shook his head, his eyes full of disappointment. "If you love me and Beth like you say, then how could this happen?" I watched him turn and walk out without saying another word. "Isaac!" I called, but he didn't turn back. "Don't go, don't leave me." Only I remained, surrounded by chaotic thoughts. I looked into Beth's eyes, the little girl still playing in her room, unaware of what was happening between us. Why had everything become so tangled like this? The suffocating feeling inside me couldn't go away. I needed the truth, I needed answers. But I couldn't accept the fact that Beth wasn't my biological daughter. She was my flesh and blood, my love, my everything. As I sat there, the weight of the truth pressing down on me, my mind began to wander back to the moments I had shared with Beth. Every laugh, every hug, every tear, every milestone. It all came rushing back like a flood. I had held her when she was sick, soothed her when she was scared, cheered for her at school events. I had watched her grow from a baby into the beautiful, intelligent young girl she was today. I loved her with all my heart. And yet none of that changed the painful reality I now had to face. How could this be? How could the little girl I had raised for all these years, the child I had poured all my love into, not be mine by blood? The guilt weighed heavily on me. Was I not enough of a mother to her? Did I not deserve to be the one who had given birth to her, to be the one who had raised her from the very beginning? The more I thought about it, the more I felt like I had failed somehow. I had held her in my arms as a baby, rocked her to sleep, whispered lullabies in her ear. I had been the one to comfort her when she had nightmares, to dry her tears when she scraped her knee. I had been there for every moment, every first step, every first word. And now, the truth shattered all of that. I felt a deep ache in my chest as I thought about the child I had unknowingly lost. The child who should have been mine by birth. Where was she now? Was she safe? Was she loved? Was she growing up happy the way Beth had? I couldn't shake the worry that she might be out there somewhere, in a world that was so different from the one I had imagined for her. Had she been treated with the love and care she deserved? Did she feel abandoned? And what about Beth? How would she feel when she found out the truth? Could she ever understand the pain I was going through? I had never imagined that something like this could happen to us. I had never imagined that I would have to face the possibility of losing the girl I had loved and raised as my own. How could I explain to her that I had raised her with all my heart, but that the blood between us wasn't mine? I felt tears threatening to fall, but I held them back. I had to be strong for Beth, for both of them. But in that moment, all I could do was sit in silence, consumed by the pain of not knowing where my real daughter was. The feeling of being torn between the two, of wanting to keep the child I had raised, but also needing to find the one I had lost, left me paralyzed. How could I live with this uncertainty? How could I go on not knowing if my real daughter was okay, not knowing if she was being loved the way she deserved? The pain was unbearable, but I knew I had to face it. I had to find the truth, no matter how much it hurt. But in the midst of all this pain, the only thing I could hold on to was my love for Beth, my daughter, no matter the circumstances. The so-called incident happened the day I gave birth to Beth, when the hospital was overwhelmed and I had to share my room with another couple. The hospital was overcrowded, everything was rushed, and I couldn't control what was happening. At that time, I was confused. The whole team of doctors and nurses was working tirelessly, but no one expected that in all that chaos my daughter had been switched with another baby. The reason was simple: the hospital couldn't manage everything. After learning the truth, I decided to meet with Kira, a lawyer I knew who would help me find my lost daughter. "Kira, I need help. My daughter isn't Beth, but I can't let this girl go. She is my daughter. I love her like my own." Kira nodded and immediately contacted the investigator. Ryan is an expert in cases involving lost or switched children at hospitals. He uncovered the first clues and began tracking down the records of the family that had raised Beth. Kira listened as I shared everything that had happened, the disappointment and the pain I was going through. She looked at me with empathetic eyes. Kira, I understand how you feel and I will help you. But we need to get to the bottom of this. If we can, we'll find your daughter. We decided to go to the hospital where I gave birth to Beth, the place where I had once thought everything would be okay when welcoming my firstborn. But now, it had become the place where all the painful truths were exposed. I couldn't help but feel tense as we walked into the hospital's administrative area, the place where Isaac and I had once waited to welcome our daughter with joy. Now, everything had changed. The hospital was not only where I gave birth, but it had also made an unacceptable mistake. Although I tried not to let the pain affect my decisions, the more I thought about it, the harder it became to breathe. This hospital had to take responsibility. Kira led me to the office of the obstetrician who had been involved in my delivery. The obstetrician who had directly assisted in my case was sitting there looking worried and unsure where to start. "Ms. Kira, I apologize for what happened," the doctor said, her voice soft and full of regret. "We have reviewed the situation from that day, and we realized that there was an error in the admission process and patient care. It's highly likely that there was a mix-up with the babies." I couldn't control my emotions. "Thank you for admitting the mistake, but this is too serious. How can I trust that this hospital can do things right when such a mistake has happened?" The doctor lowered her head, her eyes filled with remorse. "We completely understand your disappointment. This is a rare incident, and we are doing everything we can to correct the mistake. We will support you in finding your daughter, and I guarantee that such a situation will never happen again." She continued, "We will provide all the information you need and assist you in every legal process to bring your daughter back to your family." I heard the sincere apology from the doctor, but in my heart there was still much doubt. "So what do we do next?" The doctor gently nodded. "We've contacted a professional investigator. He will help you find your daughter. We will work with the authorities to track down the family who mistakenly took your daughter." The apology from the hospital gave me some comfort, but I knew things couldn't be that easy. This was a huge mistake, and they had to take responsibility. Kira and I continued to work together, facing the legal procedures and everything else that needed to be done to bring Beth back. But during this time, I realized that no matter how difficult things were, the truth and my love for my daughter were the most important things. We would find her, and our family would reunite no matter how many challenges we had to face. While the hospital had apologized and committed to helping find the lost child, Kira and I couldn't stop thinking about everything. I had lost my daughter without knowing, and now I was facing the reality of finding the child I had loved. Every day, I wondered how many other families were facing situations like mine. But the important thing was that I had the opportunity to make it right and bring my daughter home. My struggle wasn't just for me, but for my family, and I would never give up. That day, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After all the relentless efforts, we finally got news about the girl. The child switched with Beth when I gave birth. Kira called me into her office, and I could feel the tension in the air. "Kira, I don't know how I'll feel if this isn't true," I said, trying to stay calm as I walked in. Kira looked at me with determined eyes. "I understand, Kira, but this might be our last chance. I've contacted the investigator and he's found some information. The girl is living at a government-run orphanage." These words felt like a glimmer of hope in the dark. I hadn't expected that we'd get results this quickly. For the past month, I had constantly worried, every day wondering if I would ever find my daughter. Kira and I immediately made plans. "I'll go with you," she said. "We'll meet with the staff at the orphanage and see if the girl recognizes you." We both got in the car, my heart racing and filled with anxiety that I couldn't describe. The feeling of not knowing if the girl would remember me, if I could recognize her, was a mix of pain and happiness. When we arrived at the orphanage, I felt a little suffocated, but I couldn't turn back now. I walked in and looked around. This was the place where my daughter had lived for all these months without me knowing. The other children played in the yard, but none of them were my daughter. A staff member led us to a small room. The girl was sitting there, looking towards the door. Her eyes weren't confused, but seemed like a child who had gotten used to change. At first, I didn't recognize her, not because she didn't look like me, but because of the distance of the time we had lost together. But then, the girl looked at me, and a look full of memories appeared in her eyes. Her eyes sparkled as if she were searching for someone. My heart tightened. It was her, my daughter. "My love," I softly called. "Mommy is here. I've come to take you home." The girl looked up without hesitation. Her eyes were filled with surprise and joy. "Mom?" she said, her voice trembling. "Really? You're really my mom?" Tears welled up in my eyes. "Yes, my love, I'm here." The girl stepped toward me, and I couldn't hold back anymore. I hugged her tightly, my heart overflowing with happiness. I missed you so much, my love. I will never let you go again. Kira stood by the door, watching me with a gentle smile. Congratulations, Kira. We've finally found the girl. This feeling is truly incomparable. Kira's words soothed the pain in me. I knew that we had fought and not given up. That was all that mattered. But just as I was holding the girl in my arms, another feeling arose. Beth, the daughter I had raised all these years, was still at home, unaware of this truth. How would I explain this to her? How would I help both of them adjust to each other without feeling torn apart? At that moment, I turned to look at Kira, my mind filled with questions and anxiety. Kira, I can't imagine how Beth will react when she learns the truth. What will she do when she finds out she's not my biological daughter? Kira looked at me, her eyes filled with empathy. You'll have to face that, Kira. But if you love both children, you'll help them understand that love is the most important thing. I looked at the girl in my arms, and I knew I was ready to love both of them. Because whether biological or not, my love for them never changed. After all the legal procedures were completed and everything was confirmed legal, we brought both Beth and the girl back home. It was a day I would never forget. The two girls sat beside each other, both looking at me, their eyes full of curiosity and unspoken questions. I didn't know how to explain, but I knew the only thing I could do was love both of them. And that's what I did. Both girls received the love I had for them. Though there was a little confusion and anxiety at first, eventually we came together as one true family. Love doesn't distinguish between bloodlines. It is about sharing, sacrificing, and sincerity. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure. This family will always be strong because we found each other, not by anything other than love. After everything was settled, I felt like we had gone through one of the toughest times of our lives, but the outcome was worth every moment of the journey. We learned that the most important thing in life is not blood but love, and that love can unite even the most broken pieces. As days passed, the initial uncertainty and awkwardness gradually faded. Both girls, Beth and the other child, whom we now called Courtney, settled into our home with a sense of ease that I hadn't expected. They were both so different, yet in many ways they were both pieces of my heart. Watching them adjust to their new reality brought tears to my eyes. Beth, who had been my daughter for so many years, now understood the situation, and though she was confused at first, she accepted Courtney with an open heart. She was never jealous, never resentful. Her love was unconditional, and I could see that she wanted to share that love with the sister she never knew she had. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, I heard footsteps behind me. It was Beth, with a piece of paper clutched in her hand. She had drawn a picture of our family, me, Isaac, Beth, and Courtney, all of us together. I knelt down to her level, my heart swelling with emotion. "Mom, I made this for you," she said shyly. I took the drawing from her and examined it, my eyes misting over. "This is beautiful, sweetheart. Thank you." "Do you think Courtney will like it too?" she asked softly, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I'm sure she will," I said, hugging her tight. "You're both my daughters, and I love you both so much." Later that night, after dinner, Courtney came up to me with a different kind of gesture. She held up a small, worn-out teddy bear, her most cherished possession, and handed it to me. "Here, Mommy," she said with a nervous smile. "I want you to have it." I looked at her in surprise. "Are you sure, sweetie? This teddy bear is so special to you." Courtney nodded, her eyes full of trust. "I want you to have it. You're my mom now, and I want to show you I love you." Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged her close. "Thank you, Courtney. This means the world to me." In that moment, I realized just how much love these two girls were willing to give, despite everything they had been through. They didn't hold grudges or resentments. They had both been through unimaginable pain, and yet they gave me their love so freely. They were resilient and pure, and they had become my greatest source of strength. As the weeks went by, I saw how much they appreciated everything we did for them. They took joy in the smallest things, family dinners, bedtime stories, and even the simple act of sitting together on the couch. They both cherished the love we offered them, and in return, they gave me something I had never imagined I could receive: unconditional love and gratitude. One day, Beth approached me with a serious expression. "Mom," she said, "I know things were hard at first, but I want you to know how much I love you. I'm really happy that we're together now." I hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of her words. "I love you too, more than anything." Courtney, overhearing the conversation, ran over and threw her arms around both of us. "Me too, Mommy. I love you both so much," she exclaimed. We held each other close, and in that moment I realized that everything I had done, the pain, the heartache, the fear, had led me to this moment. I was a mother to two incredible daughters, and nothing in the world could change that. They loved me, they trusted me, and I was never going to let them go. Their love and gratitude were the most beautiful things I had ever received. They had shown me that no matter how broken the world may seem, love is the glue that holds everything together, and as long as we had each other, nothing else mattered. These two girls, who had been through so much and had every reason to be angry or resentful, showed me that love conquers all. They didn't care about the past, the mistakes, or the confusion. All they cared about was the family we were building together. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about how far we had come. From the pain of losing one daughter to the joy of finding her again, and then to the love we had found in each other. I had been given the gift of not just one daughter but two, and my heart was fuller than I ever thought possible. I kissed both girls goodnight as they lay sleeping in their beds, and I whispered to them, "I love you both so much, and I will always be here for you." And as I turned off the lights, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, as a family, bound by love and gratitude. As I reflect on all that has happened, I am filled with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The love I share with my daughters is something that words cannot truly capture. Despite the challenges, the mistakes, and the heartache, we have found each other, and nothing can break the bond we now share. This journey has taught me the true meaning of family and unconditional love. It has shown me that no matter what happens, love is the force that can heal even the deepest wounds. I am forever thankful for my girls, for their resilience, and for the gift of a second chance at motherhood. This is a story of sacrifice, forgiveness, and love. What do you think about Kira's decisions in this story? Have you ever faced difficult decisions and found ways to overcome them? Please share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to hear more inspiring stories.